Sicily is always a good idea. A smouldering volcano or two, exciting culture and amazing wine. What's not to love? Today, we're going to find out what it's like to explore this incredible island from a base in Catania by both train and car on episode 270 of the Untold Italy podcast.
Ciao a tutti and benvenuti to Untold Italy, the travel podcast where you go to the towns and villages, mountains and lakes, hills and coastlines of Bella Italia. Each week your host, Katy Clarke, takes you on a journey in search of magical landscapes, history, culture, wine, gelato, and of course, a whole lot of pasta. If you're dreaming of Italy and planning future adventures there, you've come to the right place.
Dreaming of arriving in Italy, strolling into a gelateria and ordering your gelato with confidence? If you've been learning Italian with language apps but still can't string a sentence together, it might be time to try another approach. My friend Michelle from Intrepid Italian offers a practical way to learn travel-ready Italian. Thanks to her unique 80-20 method, Michelle teaches you exactly what you need to know to connect with locals and have more authentic travel experiences. There's no getting bogged down in awkward phrases and unnecessary grammar. As an adult learner herself with Italian heritage, Michelle really knows how to bridge the gap between English and Italian. As Roma from London said, the learning methodology is great. I progressed much faster in the last 4 weeks than I ever did on my own or using other language apps. To find out more and claim your free Italian travel phrase guide, visit untolditaly.com/Italian or visit the link in the show notes. As a bonus, you'll also get an exclusive $20 coupon code to use on any of Michelle's online self-paced courses. So visit untolditaly.com/Italian and accelerate your Italian language journey today. Ciao a tutti. Hope you all had a lovely Easter if you celebrate. We had a busy one, which is why I took a little break last week. But here I am back with an episode full of insights from one of our listeners who may not have an Italian background, but truly has an Italian soul. First, though, I'd like to mark the sad passing of the Pope, Papa Francesco. Even though I am not Catholic, I held a lot of respect for this man who used his power and influence to support some of the poorest and most vulnerable people around the world. And yes, sure, he could have done more. But in a time where things seem to be driven by extremely transactional and mean decision-making processes, someone with his position operating from a place of compassion will be sorely missed. Rest in peace, Papa Francesco. Now, let's take a little trip to Sicily with my new friend Brie, who I share an affinity with Italy, despite having no genealogical connection there. Brie was smitten at first sight and then managed to move to Sicily, where she soaked up every last minute of her time in beautiful Italia. She's here to share her adventures with us, including a train trip that I get quite a few questions about. So andiamo, let's dive in. Benvenuta, Brie. Welcome onto the Untold Italy podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Katy. I'm really excited.
Oh, I'm absolutely thrilled to have you here on the show today, Brie, because you reached out to me wanting to talk about Sicily, where you once lived, and I thought, oh, we haven't done Sicily for a while, so I was very excited to have you on and hear all your thoughts about when you lived there. But you are joining us today from beautiful Canada. So maybe tell us a little bit about yourself and how a Canadian woman and her husband came to be living in Sicily.
My husband and I, we first visited there probably about 10 years ago, and I fell hard for Italy. We did it via cruise, which I wouldn't probably do now, but at the time that's what we did. And I remember we were in a different place, like we were in Greece, Malta, and then we had a day in Sicily. And going from Malta to Sicily, I don't know, it was very dry in Malta, very it looked like things weren't growing. Might have just been the area that we saw. But the day we arrived in Sicily, I'm squeezing my husband's arm on the bus, and I'm like, this place is to see the lemon trees everywhere. Just, it's so fertile, things growing all over, kind of wild looking. Yeah, I fell in love with it. And in preparation for that trip, I tried to learn a little bit of Italian. And when I got to use what I learned there, it was so rewarding for me, just the little bits that I got to use, asking like, where is this, or the bathroom, or it was really rewarding. And so when I came home, I continued learning Italian, and you couldn't keep me from anything that had to do with Italy, reading books, watching programs, listening to your podcast. Yeah, so I fell in love with Italy, but particularly Sicily was what stayed with me the most.
Amazing. Do you remember which port did you go into on that cruise?
Messina.
Oh, Messina, yeah.
Messina, but we got on a bus and went to Taormina, and I'd never seen anything so beautiful. It's so beautiful there. After living there now, I still love it there, but there's so many people that go now. So it was fun to discover other places. But that was my first love, was Taormina.
Yeah, I think White Lotus has a lot to answer for.
Yes.
Even though a lot of it wasn't actually filmed in that area. It was actually filmed in Cefalù, I believe, but it is very beautiful. I mean, you have the smoking volcano, you have the Greek ruins, you have the beautiful sea. What's not to love, really? I think it is spectacular. So how long was it before that original trip, before you went back to Sicily to move?
It would have been 5-6 years. Just before the pandemic, I discovered that I was entitled to European citizenship. I hadn't really realized it in my life until then. And so we had a trip planned in March 2020 to go to Sicily for 2 months. Of course, it did not happen. I think a week before we were supposed to leave was when everything started to happen. But my way of kind of coping with missing that trip was working towards my citizenship. So I worked on that during the pandemic, got my passport. It went really well. It went fairly smoothly. At that point, I said to my husband, like, if I get my passport and everything, I don't want to go for a visit. I want to move. And so he had some time to mull it over to, come to my side.
Good for him, though. Amazing. It's one of those things, living abroad, and I haven't lived abroad in a country where they don't speak English, but I think it's so changes you in a way, and it's an adventure, and you're tested in so many different ways, and I think you'll never regret it, actually. And how did you decide where to live when you got there?
So we knew some people. We had friends in Catania. That was a big factor because they were our connection for some things, like an apartment. We basically got our apartment through these friends, which I think would have been challenging otherwise. And, knowing people got us familiar with the city, helped us to get things done. They would come with us to the comune, to try and get some of our documents and paperwork done. But also we wanted to live somewhere with no car. We didn't want to have a car. And Catania is great for that. It has its own airport. So if you want to travel and you don't have a car, you can get there easily. Yeah, having no car and the friends, knowing people there was why we picked Catania.
Ah, that's very interesting. I think it's always good to have touch point, even if you don't maybe spend so much time with them, but if you've got someone who can help you, I think is really cool. Are they Italian or are they?
Yeah, some were. We had a Canadian friend who was married to a Sicilian there. Yeah, so you have people who can speak Italian. That really helps you in the beginning. And then, of course, having people that you can kind of also relate to and be able to kind of have chats about how different things are there than where you're from.
Yeah, I think it's very romanticized moving to Italy a lot of the time, and I think the hard reality is there are some things that are very, very difficult, especially the bureaucracy, if you're used to doing everything online and quickly. I know I get frustrated if it doesn't happen immediately. So I have this, maybe we'll spend an extended period of time in Italy at some stage, but for me, I look at some of the team and what they go through and I just go, whoa, I don't know. That's for me. But yeah, brava for doing that. And what was the things that you loved about Catania when you lived there?
At first, there were things to get used to. My husband probably struggled a little bit more than me. I don't know, just soaked it all up, loved it. But it's chaotic, it's loud, there's garbage kind of all over. So that you have to get used to. But I loved how close everything, like we got used to going to the deli and the butcher that was below our apartment. We always went back to the same bar. Our pizzeria was down the road. Like everything is so close to you. It's so different from where I live right now. And so we could also walk everywhere, which we love. Before we went to Italy, we had really become walkers during the pandemic. And so, just getting that exercise in every day because you have to go walk for your groceries and things. The market, I think the market in Catania, I think it's the best in Italy. I really, really love it. It's cheap. I think we had a lot of friends say that of anywhere they've been in Europe, they've never had as affordable of groceries or food as Catania. And so many things come from Mount Etna. Yeah, the food was definitely a highlight. Even when we would travel outside of Sicily to other parts of Italy, you kind of get a little eye roll sometimes when you would tell other Italians, like, you live in Sicily. Like, they have their view of Sicily. But they would all comment on the food. They'd say, oh, but the food, it's so good. So we felt like we were in a bit of a food heaven down there. That was probably our favorite thing.
Oh, that market is so, like, I think there's some words in travel that are really overused, and vibrant's probably one of them, but that one is literally vibrant, and it's fun, isn't it, where they're all shouting at each other in dialect, and it's just noisy, chaotic, and there's so much going on. And I love all the little restaurants around the side of that market too.
It was an experience every time because we obviously don't look Italian. I have way too fair of skin, especially to be Sicilian. I don't think at that market it's so busy they never got used to us, like, seeing our faces. And so they would, try little tricks. And it was just kind of fun to kind of combat their tricks. Like, I would keep track of how much I was spending. And, they would throw a number at you after you'd pick out some of your veggies and stuff. And I would go, no, I think it's only €2, not 4. Oh, okay, fine, They've got lots of tricks up their sleeve with foreigners, but that became not a game, but it became something very funny in our daily life to kind of face that. I think we miss it now.
Well, I mean, you just pop a price on it. It's boring. Like, let's go haggle. But it's a really fun city too. I love that locals get out, don't they? Like, that's what I noticed when I was in Catania. They are out on the streets and walking, passeggiata, enjoying each other's company. It's super nice.
Yeah, and relaxed. Like, sometimes you would see tourists and they're maybe like dressed to the nines because they're in Italy. They want to look really good. But it's much more casual there, I think, than in some parts of Italy. And so you can just kind of like, I don't know, I feel like you can relax in that you don't have to look a certain way. You can just put your hair down, wear flip-flops if you want. Like, it's a bit more anything goes. You won't stand out too much amongst the chaos.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's a port city, so maybe, I don't know, I think port city is always a bit more relaxed and a bit more chill. Like, everyone's just having a good time. I mean, I found Messina really like that as well. We were there for one Easter, which was crazy in a good way. But, yeah, it's a city where people live, and I think that's probably what you found in Catania too, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's very lived in, very, I don't know if you want to use the word real. That's what I loved about it, as opposed to maybe living somewhere a bit more pristine and magical. It felt like you were really living somewhere, you were on an adventure every day.
Yeah, amazing. And did you go on many trips from your base? Like, I know for me, when we're overseas, we live overseas, like I'm off every weekend, let's go. How about you?
We had a lot of friends from abroad come visit us while we lived there. And we tried to keep our kind of bigger trips to when they came. So we would do little things the two of us. We actually grew to love taking the train to Rome overnight. I love the overnight train to Rome and back. But yeah, we would save our bigger trips for when friends visited. And once we did a road trip around Sicily with friends, rented a car, and it was in November or December. So you would think maybe not the best time of year, but it was so beautiful. Things are still growing everywhere. You know, you still have the bougainvillea growing, oranges. So it doesn't feel like you're there in the winter or that you're traveling in the winter. But yeah, that trip we loved. We visited some of the places we had already seen. Like we did many day trips to Ortigia while we were in Catania. We'd been to Ragusa a few times. But with those friends, we went to the West Coast, which we actually didn't do a lot. We ended up sticking mostly to the East Coast. It's easy to get around on the East Coast, a little bit harder on the West, especially without a car. But Erice is so beautiful, Trapani, Cefalù, we had been a few times with friends. Of course, friends want to go to the places that they've heard of.
Yes.
Or, you know, the places that come up in their research. So it was always, you know, we want them to have that experience, but we'd always try and draw them away to somewhere quiet or small that they might not have heard of. But probably our most memorable time was going to the Aeolian Islands. We loved it there. We stayed on Salina. Loved Salina so much. We sometimes, with the friends that we went with, we still say, like, was that place real? Like, were we actually there? It's like, I don't know, a mix of Hawaii and Italy, or I don't know, you even felt like as you approached the islands on the ferry, like you're at Jurassic Park or something. Like it feels like you're somewhere special, somewhere people haven't been. And we were really shocked too by how few people were there. We went in June.
I think when you have to make a little bit more effort, that's when people maybe get a bit more challenged about whether they want to go. That's my experience. And I guess that's why we do our tours the way we do, so people can then have that experience if they're feeling a bit nervous about going a little bit further off the beaten path. But it's just rewards you every single time, doesn't it?
Yeah, it feels like it's your own little secret when you go somewhere off the beaten path and you don't see tourists, or I don't know, it just feels special. At least the island we stayed on, Salina, we could hear a neighboring island a little bit each night in the distance. I think that was more of the bit more of a party island. But the one we stayed on was so sleepy. One night we went to dinner. We were the only people in that restaurant the whole evening. I remember after a boat tour, we got back later at night, maybe like 10:30, and the entire place is absolutely asleep. Like nobody is out. But we really liked that. We liked that it was so quiet. And
that sounds like my type of place. I'm definitely the 10 p.m. bed person, you know. There's no staying up till midnight here anymore. But that sounds ideal. I'd love to do that. Yeah. Magic. You can't get more special than that if you're just feeling like you're the only person there.
Yeah. Have you been there, Katie?
Not to the Aeolian Islands, but it's on the list, you know, the ever-growing list. The list never stops growing. That's the unfortunate part. But I mean, it gives us more reason to go back to Italy. And I know, you know, my family is very keen to go back to Sicily because I think we went in 2017. So, yeah, we're getting on a few years since they've been there. I've been back since, but yeah, it's so nice. Now, I think you mentioned something before that I think people would love to know more about, and that's about getting the train from Sicily to Rome and back again. I actually often have people say, oh, what about this overnight trip? And for me, it's like, yeah, I've done some overnight train trips. They haven't been my favourite, but tell me why you loved it.
You know, we also took it during the day, and I have to say, I understand on vacation you don't want to waste a whole day on the train because it's a long journey. I think it's like 11 hours, but it's so beautiful. And to go through so many regions on your way, go past Vesuvius, like I'm like a dog, like just looking out the window the entire time. You know how you bring things with you in case like you get to read or no, I can't. I'm addicted to just looking out the window. It's so beautiful. But the overnight train we really loved because, I mean, you need a place to stay anyways for a night. So this is sort of like you're combining your transportation and your hotel kind of in the same deal. But I'm sure you can pay more, but we always stayed like in the rooms where there's 4 to a room. So we would have a bunk and there was always somebody else in the other bunk. But we had really interesting experiences with people in the other bunk. We had a couple from Argentina once and chatted with them. There was a man who insisted that he wasn't going to sleep the entire night. He was going to stay up, which we thought, oh no, but he actually just, I don't know if he felt like he couldn't sleep, but he was Italian and he wanted to talk to me. And so the longest conversation I ever had was with this man, probably 2 hours, and I was sweating. Oh my goodness, because I could only understand, maybe half of what he would say. I'd have to ask him to repeat a lot, but he was super patient. But he really tested my Italian that night. And eventually I had to say, I have to go to bed. I know you're staying up all night apparently. But yeah, we had interesting little encounters like that, but never anything strange or, The fun thing about taking the train from Sicily to the mainland is they have to board the train onto a boat to cross, right? And so you can leave your train car during that time and go up on the ferry and look at both sides, say goodbye to Sicily or hello to Sicily. It was unique. It's a unique experience.
Oh, they kept threatening to put that bridge up there, but I'm pretty sure the ferry company has got a vested interest in keeping the ferries running. But it is an interesting experience. But I had no idea that it was actually a scenic trip because, sometimes people think when they're going by train, especially on the fast speed trains, that it's going to be scenic, but you actually can't see anything. And there's a lot of tunnels, especially up when you're going up north. So it's good to know that that trip is scenic.
Yeah. I don't know if there is a tunnel, maybe around Maratea in Basilicata, around there, but I think that might be the only one. And what I would do is, because a lot of it sticks right along the coastline, so as we would approach places that looked incredible, maybe an incredible beach or the town looked beautiful, I would start pinning these places on my Google Maps to save them and be able to look back later and be like, where was that? It's a great trip. We would always look into flying to Rome instead. And for us, sometimes it made more sense to do the train just because of getting from the airport to Rome or vice versa. You're right in the center of Rome when you get there. Yeah, even the cost, it often made more sense to do the train.
So do you think your way you travelled changed a lot when you started living in Sicily?
Yes, I do. Like I said earlier, we did a cruise the first time we went to Italy, and, that's a good way to see a lot at once and maybe get a feel if you've never been before. But I can't imagine now, it's not something I would desire, because I think when you live somewhere, and even in Catania, there's quite a bit of tourists for a pretty good chunk of the year. It makes you want to go places where there aren't tourists. And then you also get some inside tips and things from Sicilians, like where they like to go, because they want to go places too that aren't going to have too many people around. But I think too, when you're abroad and you're planning a trip to Italy or anywhere, you do research, you plan, people tell you places they've been, and it starts to kind of spiral into all these things you feel like you have to do. Because I think for a lot of people, they go and they think, I don't know if I'm going to get back here or when I'm going to get back here, so I need to see all of this at once. But when you live there, you can, you feel more relaxed. You never feel like, I think this is the only time I'm ever going to see this place. You can kind of wing it a little bit. You don't have to do as much research as you would from abroad. But unfortunately, that mentality has stayed with me a bit. So in planning future trips or one that we're going on soon, I didn't want to overdo it in the planning and tried to really pick places where I feel like people don't go. A great way is if you look up a place on YouTube or online and try and find more about it, and if you cannot find anything, that's where I want to go now. Parts of, we're going to southern part of Cilento, and I have scoured the internet and tried to find information, it's hard. It's really hard, but that makes me really excited that nobody has really documented this yet. That's exciting to me.
It's a hard one, especially for someone who does this job, because, you want to share these places with people. But also I think the effort of discovery is super fun too, and having those special moments where you've just, you stumble across something and you're like, wow, I can't believe, like you said, that this even exists in the Aeolian Islands. It's a really interesting way to travel. And I look at the way that I traveled, and, like when I was in my 20s and I was doing all this train travel back in the days when that was the norm. And, like when I had kids, that all changed. We had to be a bit more structured around what we did and all of that. And now I love, they're a bit older, we can wing it a bit more. But I think if people are just a little bit, they'd like to try it, but they don't know. I think even if you just allocate a couple of days of your trip just to going somewhere that, is really a little bit different and not something that you're definitely going to find on the internet, it's so worth it. Because I notice in my travels online, social media, it's always the same places that come up and up and up. And, then it becomes like, not like Disneyland, but it just becomes a bit, like everyone's there, everyone's taking the same photo. I think we may be at a tipping point where maybe everyone's, thinking, everyone's dressing the same, everyone's looking the same. How can I be a bit more individual?
Yeah, it's true. I agree. I think like even if, if you're going for 2 weeks or something and there are more popular spots you really want to go to, if you can just like a couple days or, like a quarter of the time somewhere that you don't know too much about, then you learn like, oh, did I love that? Or did I love, the busier places? It helps you to figure it out.
I mean, like, Rome is popular for a reason. Like, it is amazing. Like, I can't get enough of it. I haven't even scratched the surface. Half the time I'm still making discoveries in the little area where I stay. I feel so lame sometimes, but I'm always finding like 3 or 4 new things to do in this one tiny, area where I can walk in 10 minutes. So it's a true joy to be able to travel there. So when you're in Sicily, let's go back to how you were getting around. So you mentioned you had a car for one trip, and it is challenging, isn't it? Like I feel like people think, oh, it's the same as being at home, but I think you need to have your wits about you, don't you?
Yes, I remember in, I think it was in Caltagirone, we visited that trip, and we were trying to make our way out of the town and leave. And Google Maps wanted us to go down a street. And so we started, but then we saw that like it was such a steep hill, we couldn't see what was below us. So one of us got out of the car just to, check. It was stairs. So we would have went down these stairs in our car. So yeah, you got to watch for that. The only times we've ever been stuck too in a car, like where you have had to do like a 100-point turn, is in Sicily. I haven't had it anywhere else, but in Sicily, a couple of times that's happened. And in Sicily too, it's important to maybe rent something a little bit simple, not too flashy, because we've had many people we know come visit and they've rented a car and something's happened, like if you rent something that's a bit too noticeable, maybe too new, too fancy, it can be a bit of a target. So embrace the like simple little Panda Fiat or something if you can for the trip.
Yeah, and easier to park too, because like those parking spots, my brother just turned up, he's got a new car and it's this huge thing. I go, how do you even park that? It's in Australia and we have big, car spaces. And he goes, oh, I don't know. And I said, how do you even get out if you're next to someone in the car space? But in Sicily, they're just like driving right up on the curb. They don't care.
Yeah.
You're right. You don't want it to be flashy. And then you also mentioned that you got around Sicily a bit by train. And I think that's another interesting thing for people there are a lot of people that obviously don't want to drive for the reasons that we've just mentioned. But yeah, you still can get around Sicily. It's a little bit slower though, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, where we lived, that whole East Coast, especially along the water, is pretty accessible by train. Even some of the Baroque towns you can get to by train. I still think you can have an amazing trip without renting a car. When we went to the Aeolian Islands, I mean, you don't want to have a car because you'd just be leaving it in Milazzo for the length of time you're on the islands anyways. So yeah, that's a great place to go if you don't want to rent a car because you don't need it. But getting between Palermo and Catania is pretty simple. Even the bus can be really great, especially getting from one side of the island to the other because it cuts through the middle of the island, where the trains stay along the coast or closer to the coast. And to see the interior of Sicily, it's so beautiful. I think it's underrated, the interior. People tend to stick to more of the beach areas and the coastal towns, but the interior is stunning. It's pretty dramatic too. You know, where you think of like Tuscany, it's these rolling light hills, but there it's much more dramatic, much more like I think mountainous than people think it would be.
Yeah, and when it's spring and the wildflowers are out, it's just stunning, isn't it? There's nothing better. It's just magical. And of course, there's not a lot of people that go in there. They probably go up into Piazza Armerina or across to Agrigento, but yeah, people are missing that beautiful wild nature that's in the middle there. Yeah, it's beautiful. What were some of your favourite places, Brie? Are there places that stick in your mind apart from the Aeolian Islands and Catania?
I will say too, on Selina in the Aeolian Islands, we had this day because I think, you know, this would appeal to people. We don't often book tours. We like to explore things on our own, but really our friends kind of not pushed us, but encouraged like, oh, we'd really like to do a boat tour. And it was so great. We used, I think it was called Selina Relax Boats. We couldn't help ourselves from saying the name of that company. Throughout our trip, we just found it really funny, Selina Relax Boats. But in that day, you know, you get to go swimming, you get to visit a few of the islands, but the highlights, you know, you go to Stromboli, which is an active volcano, and once it gets a bit dark, they park the boat in view of where the volcano is constantly spewing lava. So about every 10 minutes, you get this explosion of lava in the air. And everyone on the boat was so excited. And I don't know, there's something about seeing a volcano explode that just makes people kind of go crazy. You're yelling every time it happens. That same day, we also, obviously this isn't, you know, always a part of the tour or anything, but we had about maybe like 40 or 50 dolphins following the boat at one point, playing in the waves, little baby dolphins. Aww. People went crazy for that too. Might have been us actually that were going the most crazy, but that's a special place. I definitely suggest going there if you can. But Modica is one of my favorite Baroque town. I feel like it doesn't get maybe as much love as Ragusa or Noto, but it feels lived in. It feels like a real place, like where Sicilians are working. And we also had a super memorable meal there, which helps. When you have a super memorable meal, that place always stays with you, I think. But beautiful architecture there. The way the houses kind of cascade is really beautiful. One thing I do in a lot of places that we go in Italy is when it's like lunchtime or dinner time, I try to find somebody to ask, like, where do you think we should eat? And in Modica, I remember there was a woman, she was either like a crossing guard or in construction. She was wearing like a highlighted vest, and she completely stopped what she was doing and was like, okay, you're anywhere? You're okay if I suggest anything? And I'm like, yeah. And she goes, okay, I'm going to call for you right now. And so she calls this restaurant that she loved. And she's like, these 4 foreigners are going to come and like, they'll be there in like 10 minutes. Like, save a table for them. Things like this. I love asking, especially like an elderly man who's like sitting on a park bench or something. He's the perfect guy to ask, where should we eat? They always lead you to the right places. But yeah, I loved Modica. And Ganji is not super well known, but I think it might have been the very first €1 town. That's how I heard of it, like, I don't know, many years ago. And I remember marking it down. It's very pretty because a lot of people, the initiative worked really well and a lot of people bought houses, but really, really pretty little town. And Randazzo I love Randazzo. It's a town on Mount Etna. You can get to it via this old little train system. So not like the regular train system on the island, but this little train system that goes from Catania around Mount Etna. It's very loud. It's old. It's rickety, but it's a fun trip. And they take you up to Randazzo. And in Randazzo, we thought of it as like a foodie destination, even though it was such a small place, because there's this place called Musumeci Pasticceria. I think it's been featured in some articles and things around the world. You know, the claim sometimes like the best gelato in Italy, these things that are put out there sometimes, which is hard to, there's a lot of good gelato, but this place is amazing. It was so good. The granita too, and they really stick to like Sicilian flavors, orange, almonds, pistachio. My husband loved that one. I couldn't get away from the nut ones. I love the nut granitas, especially almond with like pour a little bit of your espresso on it.
Were you doing your granita with brioche for breakfast?
Oh, yes. Granita, I think a couple foods, like it makes me emotional almost to talk about them. Granita and the arancino, it just seems so embedded in the culture. They love it so much, and they love to see you enjoying it. Yeah, anyways, but granita in the summertime when it's hot, you don't want gelato in Sicily. That's what you want is granita. It's like a little bit lighter.
Yeah.
Oh, yum.
Oh, I'm making you homesick now. Yeah, I think you're right though, the local flavors. We went down to Marzamemi one time and I had that really good gelsi down there, which is mulberry for people who don't know that flavor. But it's not like the one from North America. It's a different variety, I think, but it's very dark purple and it's delicious and very refreshing.
Yeah, so refreshing. Yes. You have to do granita for breakfast when you're in Sicily or anytime. I mean, we would go out with friends after you've had dinner. You go out for granita. You meet people in the morning for granita. Like it's, I can't even tell you. We lived pretty like locals and we bought food like locals. Like we never desired to like really make things that we would make in our home country or, search those things out. We would really stick to what was local. But I don't know if locals go out for granita as much as we did. Like probably like 4 times a week.
Now, I'm going to ask you a few questions because we're going to start this off. Actually, you gave me this idea from your website. So can you tell me, this is very quick fire, what's your favorite city in Italy?
Matera.
Oh, okay.
I would say Matera. In Italy, I would say Matera. I've never been anywhere like it. Have you been there, Katie?
Yes, it's amazing. Yeah.
It's so unique, and at night, the atmosphere is like incredibly romantic. I swear they're all told like where to buy their light bulbs because it has the same warm lighting all throughout the city. Obviously, you think of Italy as old, but I've never experienced any place like that in Italy.
You must stay overnight. It's a real shame if you rush through on a day trip, I think, yeah. All right, how about your favourite small town?
I'd have to say that one on Mount Etna, Randazzo. I love that town. It's very, I don't know how many people know about it, but to just kind of wander around, be able to take pictures of, I don't know, just the rusticness of a small Italian town that not a lot of people go to, and have little encounters and chats maybe with like some of the locals, because I love when you go to a town and they're all kind of staring at you because they're like, who is this person? Why are they here? You're somewhere good when that happens. But yeah, I would say Randazzo. Go there. I love it.
Okay. And if you could only eat one pasta dish?
Okay, we'll stick with Sicily. Maybe pasta con sarde, like the sardine pasta with pine nuts and fennel fronds and onion.
Ooh.
Toasted breadcrumbs on top instead of cheese. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the different textures that they have there is very, very different and probably not what people expect. When people are often thinking it's just, pasta pomodoro is, You just go there and you go, what is this? How am I eating this? This is so different to at home, but it is even like to try the different pastas. I think it's just so good. All right. And is there, I think you did mention a memorable meal, which is in Monica, but is there a meal that you really remembered that you loved?
There's a place in Catania. We would go sometimes as a big group with our friends, and it's called La Terrazza del Barone, and it's on this street called Via Plebiscito, which is a little bit crazy. It's wild. The driving is pretty insane. It's super loud, but it's also where they grill a lot of meat on the street at night. It's very kind of like smoky at night because they've got all the barbecues out. If you want horse while you're in Catania, which is, one of its famous dishes, that's the street to go to. But this restaurant, like a lot of places in Italy, it doesn't seem like the staff care about you in a way. Like, it's just like, what do you want? Not particularly friendly, but not rude, like just kind of all business. And the restaurant's always packed. So you kind of have this lively atmosphere. And the food is very simple. Like, I think even one of the salads is like, I don't know, it used to be like €3 or €4. And all it is chopped small tomatoes with a few onions and salted ricotta, but so good. Anytime we brought friends there, they loved it. They would say, like, I think this is my favorite meal that we've had. And it's just because the atmosphere and just the simple but really, really good Sicilian food.
Doesn't get any better than that, does it? And they also do some delicious sweets. So cannoli, granita, or something else?
Oh, I mean, granita is number one. When we go back, if we don't have a granita within the first 10 minutes of being there, something's wrong. But I also loved, from a gelateria that we went to a lot, the brioche with gelato in the middle.
Yeah.
It's all about finding a place with a really good brioche. If the brioche is really good, I don't know. It's so good. It's like a meal, too. I would eat it sometimes on the way. We would pass it on our way to, being out for the day and things. And I would say, like, I'm just going to have a brioche with gelato because, like, I won't be hungry again until, yeah, that's delicious. And I loved, is this, I actually don't know, zuppa inglese gelato? Is that throughout Italy?
Yeah, you can usually get it. Yeah, I think, maybe it's from Campania. I don't know. My mother-in-law makes zuppa inglese, not the ice cream, but just as a general, it's like a custard almost, Oh,
yeah. The gelato, like one place we would get it. Oh, man, they would only do it. Some places do it with like little candies or something, but this place just did little mini chocolate chips in it. But it tastes like, to us, it tasted like, I don't know, like eggnog and rum or something. Like, that was probably my favorite. At my favorite place. It was the best gelato. But, I mean, a good cannoli, too. I remember on Sunday mornings, only in the winter months, this little bakery down the road from us would make cannolis, and my husband would go out and get them for us every Sunday morning. And the reason they only make it in the winter is because that's when ricotta is its best. Sheep are eating grass, so you only eat ricotta in the winter months, according to them. They have the luxury of picking and choosing, the time of year even to eat their foods. We would laugh at a friend of ours. He was an older Sicilian man, and he had so many food rules. Like, he wouldn't eat a tomato at this time of year. He wouldn't eat an eggplant at this time of year because he's like, oh, it's probably being grown indoors. And we would say, we do not have that luxury where we're from. Like, it's so crazy that they have that wonderful luxury of being able to eat things like just when they're growing outside. The food. I can't say enough.
We're on the same page. And lastly, if we go out for coffee, what are you ordering?
Un caffè normale. So just like I'm an espresso, a whole sugar packet. A lot of the Italians, they're like that. Like they like a whole sugar packet. And so I would kind of follow their lead. And you have that little bit at the bottom after, that's like some of the sugar grains. That, and, if it's breakfast time, probably like a cornetto alla crema, just like a cream-filled croissant. Yeah. Yum.
It's like, I don't know. You feel like they must be going a million miles an hour and have so many diabetes issues.
In Sicily, maybe especially, they are really into their sweets down there.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It's like a mystery that we all can't solve. They walk slowly around. They eat sugar, but somehow they're healthier than all of us.
They have a very strong connection to the land, I think, and you would if you have that volcano bubbling away behind you. But, yeah, I think that's a really strong pull for them. Now, I know that you've really fallen hard for Italy, Brie, so when are you back next and what are you going to be going to do?
We go in a few weeks. I'm very excited. We get to go for a month, so really linger. We're going to 4 regions. I mentioned earlier, I think the Cilento coast, but like the southern part.
Pestum, yeah.
Yeah, kind of closer to like Basilicata area. Really looking forward to that. And then Abruzzo. We're staying kind of between Gran Sasso mountain range and Maiella mountain range. Then Sardinia. We're doing a road trip around Sardinia for 10 days. And we have friends joining us for that part of the trip. Because of Sicily, you know, coastal places, yes, it's great, but I feel like there's like a secret in the middle of the island. And so same with Sardinia. I'm so excited for the middle of Sardinia to see the sheep. I'm very, very excited. And then we're going to go back to Sicily for the last bit. I don't think we could go back to Italy and not go back to Sicily. Just, you have to go relive, you know, we have to go to our pizzeria. We have to go to all the places that we loved.
Yeah. I get it. Absolutely. Oh, Brie, thank you so much for sharing your experiences. This has been such a delight, and it's so great to hear from people that do things, you know, a bit differently to the way that I would do them. Or, you know, you've stayed put in Catania and you've travelled around and you've seen so many different things and had different experiences, and I really appreciate you sharing them with everyone today. So, grazie mille. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Brie. Ciao.
Ciao.
I know a lot of you have that feeling about Italy, the one that Brie has that makes you want to go back again and again and soak it all up. I definitely have unfinished business in Sicily as well and can't wait to go back to discover those Aeolian Islands. Grazie mille to Brie for reminding me to bump that up my list and for sharing her favourite spots and also for the insight into the train journey from Sicily up to Rome. That is one that I get asked about a lot and it sounds like it might be quite entertaining. So if, like Brie, you have a trip or experience you'd like to share, please reach out to us at ciao@untolditaly.com because we love to share your stories. But I will be upfront and say that we are looking for unique places and experiences. We call them the untold ones, so that we can inspire others to go beyond the obvious, connect with the places that aren't 100% set up for tourists. So if you have personal experiences that fit that brief, please do reach out. We will be declining business pitches in favour of personal experiences. I hope you understand. Now, to learn more about the places that Brie mentioned and get some more info on her travel tips, head on over to our show notes at untolditaly.com/270 for episode number 270. And once again, thank you to all of you, our wonderful listeners, for your ongoing support of Untold Italy. We do hope you enjoyed today's show. If you did, then it would be amazing if you gave us a rating or review in your favourite podcast app. It does mean the world to us. Next week on Untold Italy, we're going to bring you some more useful tips and tricks for travelling in beautiful Italia. But until then, it's ciao for now.
The Untold Italy podcast is an independent production. Podcast editing, audio production and website development by Mark Hatter, production assistance and content writing by the other Katy Clarke. Yes, there are 2 of us. For more information about Untold Italy, please visit untolditaly.com.